And shared on YouTube. Is that on? Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the Veteran Advisory Commission's Town Hall. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag's right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. There is a few chairs up here if anybody would like a seat. There's about 6 of them, so you don't need to stand in the back. My name is Kristen Riley, and I'm the chairman of the Township Veterans Advisory Commission. I just wanted to take a minute and welcome you all and let you know, if you didn't notice in the foyer, there's a couple areas to sign up or take some information about some of the programs that we plan throughout the year. If you'd like to sign up to be on our email list so that we can email you about updates and events that are happening, we would love to see you at all of our events. I'm going to turn it over next to the first person that we have speaking tonight, which is Matthew Allen, Director of Veterans Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Northampton Township, for having the Bucks County Veterans Affairs Office come here to discuss things that our office has to offer. We'll go through a series of different things to include a new initiative that the Bucks County Veterans Affairs Office is doing, partnering with the county police departments for the Veterans Response Team, and I'll discuss that here in a little bit. A little bit about my background is Chief Petty Officer in the United States Navy, still currently serving in the Navy Reserves. I have 3.5 more years to go until retirement. Prior to taking over this position, I worked for the Bucks County Sheriff's Office for 10 years and really had a passion for crisis, trying to help individuals in need, and I know veterans that when they return home deal with a variety of different things, substance abuse, mental health issues, and this initiative is going to reduce the amount of suicides that happen, involuntary commitments to a mental health facility, and reduce criminal charges that veterans deal with here in Bucks County. I'm going to turn it over to Betty here. She's going to discuss the claims process with everyone, and please hold your questions until the end.
Good evening. It's good to see some friendly faces that I've known for many years. I have been at this job almost 24 years as a veteran service officer. I'm accredited through the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, and I also have my VA card, which allows me to go into the VA computer system. So if I file a claim for you, I can keep up to date on the process. So I have a list of things that I did want to go over, not just claims. Health care. How many in this room get health care through the VA? Good number, good number. So the VA will offer a benefit. It's not an insurance. Some people feel it's an insurance. It's not. It's a benefit. You have to get the health care through the VA. A couple years ago, they had the choice program. Well, that was a disaster because you really don't have a choice. Everything has to be pre-approved from the VA. You can't just go to your doctor or get an x-ray and have the VA pay for it. It doesn't work that way. So I do have a couple forms up here if you'd like to get health care. If you were in Vietnam, in-country Vietnam, Guam, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, you have the opportunity to get VA health care. One of the biggest things for everybody is hearing aids. You can get hearing aids. If you qualify for health care through the VA, you can get hearing aids. They used to have a little glitch in there that you had to have a 10% hearing loss disability to get hearing aids, but they no longer have that. So if you have health care through the VA, you need hearing aids, you definitely want to go to them. They even provide you, now I think they're rechargeable hearing aids, but they also would have provided you with the batteries that go with them. They are top-notch hearing aids, so they work very well. I do have a few. If you were not in Vietnam or not deployed to a war zone, it goes according to your income. A married couple, gross income is $44,000, a single veteran, $34,000. You're going to take your medical expenses off of your income, and then if it falls below that income threshold, you would qualify for benefits. So we're going to go into filing claims. So there's different claims. There's claims for service-connected disabilities. It could be an injury you had in the military that now causes a chronic condition. I used to say to people, well, if you had a runny nose in the military and it went away and now you have a runny nose again, that's not a chronic condition, but with the PACT Act, they added sinusitis and rhinitis, which is a chronic runny nose. So that kind of threw me off, but they're for veterans that were in some countries. I can't even pronounce the names of them, but I can always send PACT Act information out. I did not bring it tonight, but there's a lot of information on the PACT Act. The PACT Act, I know a lot of people in this room are probably Vietnam. What it did for Vietnam veterans is it added MGUS, which is a precursor to multiple myeloma, which is a blood cancer, and hypertension. It also expanded the exposure area to Guam, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and the waterways around it. The Blue Water Navy Act was a couple years ago, and that includes any veteran that was in, any Navy veteran that was in within 12 nautical miles of Vietnam. So the VA is trying to expand benefits to almost include everybody. If you had an illness, and you no longer have that illness, and you have nothing with that illness, it wouldn't be something that you could claim. But there's illnesses that are presumptive, and they're presumptive due to exposure to herbicides in Vietnam, due to the burn pits, due to the contaminated water at Camp Lejeune. All three of them have a list of presumptive illnesses. I've had people come in, walk in my office, they smell like an ashtray. They have lung cancer. They were in Vietnam. VA doesn't even ask. They don't care. They presume your lung cancer is due to your exposure to the herbicides. Pensions, it's another form of a claim. There's two separate kinds of pensions. There's a veterans non-service connected pension. That's for veterans that may need help at home, may need to go into an assisted living or a nursing home. These are benefits for wartime veterans. You had to have been on active duty during a declared war. I don't know all those dates by heart, but I can look them up. I can be pretty close to knowing if you're a war veteran or not. It does go according to your income and your assets. So there are limits there. But if that's something that somebody might be thinking about going into an assisted living, and you don't own a property, because once you move out of the property, it becomes an asset, I can certainly, you take my card, I'll talk forever about pensions. There's also a widow's pension. The veteran passes away, the widow is living with her daughter, now she needs to go into assisted living. There could be a benefit of up to $1,600 a month to help her pay her rent each month in an assisted living. There's also income and asset-based for that benefit also. So claims, be a millionaire and file a claim. If you deserve to be compensated, you'll be compensated. With the pensions, they're income-driven. Aid and attendance, a lot of people know aid and attendance. I'm calling for aid and attendance. Aid and attendance is part of the pension. Aid and attendance by itself is $90 a month. That's for someone, a veteran that's on Medicaid. The VA will give them $90 a month for personal items that the nursing home can't take. There's 6 nursing homes. There's 6 state nursing homes in this. There's some out in Pittsburgh, the middle of the state. The ones that are close here are on Southampton Road, right off of the boulevard. And I guess the other closest one would be Spring City. Any honorably discharged veteran can go into that home. It's on a first-come, first-served basis. It's just like another nursing home. If you've got money, you're going to pay. So with the VA and the VA benefits, based on finance, the less you have, the more you're going to get from the VA. Doesn't have anything to do with a claim. Claims doesn't matter what you have. And then there's another form of compensation that I prefer to call DIC, because telling somebody that they should apply for death and indemnity compensation just doesn't sound right. So we call it DIC, and that's for a widow whose husband died of a service-connected disability. She can get compensated every month. That's probably the biggest benefits out of the federal VA. Now we'll go on to the state. Now, the state has benefits, and most of them are for those that are 100% service-connected disabled, permanent and total. There's tax exemption on the property, which would include county, township or borough, and school taxes. So if anybody's sitting in this room and they're 100% permanent and totally disabled, they're a wartime veteran, they need to come and see me. There's a temporary assistance that we help with a veteran that might have low income, they're just making their bills, and they have a big car repair. The state will give up to $1,600 to help with that repair. There's 2 federal, I'm going to go back to federal benefits, I'm sorry. There's 2 federal nursing homes near us, one at Coatesville and one down in Philadelphia. You have to be at least 70% service-connected disabled to go into one of those nursing homes, and there's no cost to the veteran. I've been at the one at Coatesville, and it's a beautiful facility. They have a beautiful memory care unit that is probably second to none. They also offer respite, and they have end of life. I think I am done. I've thrown so much out. I'm sure I had a question or two.
And then
I'm sorry. Going back to federal benefits, burial at Washington Crossing.
Wait, John, you can talk about that one.
Huh? Oh, John, okay. I do have pre-need forms.
Okay, John, can you come on up?
I do have some pre-need forms. I don't know people.
Matt? Thank you, Betty.
I do have some pre-need.
Take my jacket. So yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. I was busy celebrating that.
We're going to have to use this for the content. Sorry.
Okay. So can you hear me all right now? Yes. Thank you. My name is John Heenan. I am the Vice President of the Guardians of the National Cemetery at Washington Crossing. And I'm going to speak a little bit about burials at Washington Crossing National Cemetery. The cemetery opened December 2010, so it's now 14 plus months old, 14 years and some months. And virtually every veteran buried there has had full military honors. At least every once in a while, someone doesn't want them for whatever reason, but full military honors are available for every single veteran buried there. It doesn't matter what the weather is. It's many days it's snowing, raining. It's naturally hot in the summertime. This is the basic uniform. When it's cold, we wear jackets and, of course, a cover of some type. Buried to date at that cemetery is about 26,000 veterans since it opened in 2010. We bury on average, 5 days a week, 7 veterans every day. A month like February, the shortest month, we buried 125 veterans. That's done 5 days a week. There is a team for every day of the week, and that's about a 10-person team, which includes riflemen, a bugler, and a team will fold and present the flag to the next of kin. I'm sure Betty has some forms that veterans can pre-register to be buried there, and it will be a beautiful cemetery for decades and decades to come. It is very, very, very well maintained. On occasion, some of our teams will go off to private cemeteries, and you really see the difference when a cemetery is 50, 60, 80 years old. They get pretty run down, but a veteran cemetery will always be very, very, very well maintained. I said what full military honors are, and guess what? There are plenty of volunteer opportunities. If you're wondering what to do with yourselves, you could sign up, and those firing teams, firing parties are made up of honorably discharged veterans who can still handle a rifle a little bit and, I'll say, pretend to march. We don't have to march very far, and as we get older, not so good, but that's life, of course. I have been part of the Honor Guard day it opened in 2010, and I do it every Thursday almost. I take some vacations once in a while, but I will tell you too, it's a good bunch of guys, bunch of people that we get to work with. So if you retire, if you have some time, I would encourage you to look into it. Guy who stands beside me for the last 14 years is 87 years old now, but he won't miss a Thursday because he enjoys being there with the rest of the gang. When I'm going on about how beautiful the place is, I can tell you we got resurrected at that cemetery, or constructed is the better term, the first Gold Star Family Memorial at any national cemetery. Ours was the very first in any national cemetery in this country. And last May, the 20th of May, we dedicated a statue to George Washington, as if George Washington was 10 feet tall. He's kneeling at prayer, looking over the troops that are buried there at Washington Crossing. And so I am the vice president of the Guardians. I was also head of the Monument Committee, so I'm a little bit proud of that project. I have a very few books here, pamphlets of that dedication day, because it rained like hell that day, and we didn't have the 900 people show up. And it has a little QR code on the back, which I'm told if you scan, it will take you to a video of the cemetery and tell you something about it. The other thing I think of when Betty said, mentioned the widows of veterans. Of course, spouses can go in with a veteran. Also, if there's a dependent child or even a dependent adult of that veteran, they can often go in the same spot. And I'm told a veteran, if he had it during his life, could have 6 spouses buried in the same spot with him. So any of you knuckleheads who might have had 5 or 6 spouses, you can bring them all there with you later on. That's my whole shopping list. So, and I could take any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
John, does the veteran have to die first for the spouse to qualify?
No, not at all.
No, okay.
Not at all. The veteran has to die sooner or later if he wants to go there, but he doesn't have to go first. Yes, sir.
Can the veteran choose his place in the line between the six
You-
spouses?
I've asked that question a number of times because I have 4 brothers who are veterans in the area, and I say, hey, can you line us all up? I'm told over and over, no. You can come up and choose a spot.
They're buried on top of one another, correct?
What about spouses?
Spouses and,
Oh, I don't know how they do it with spouses. They'll be in one spot unless both spouses are
so
veterans.
if there's 6, can you choose your spot?
Oh, well, you better pick that ahead of time. I would say deal with the last one.
What do you mean by pre-registration? What does that do for you?
Well, it gives you a little piece of paper, so, look, we're all going to die one day, and you don't want to spouse a child of somebody to have to run around and say, where's your DD 214? Is that really where you wanted to go? I'll tell you the truth. I did all that stuff with the funeral director ahead of time because a very good friend of mine suffered for 6-8 months while he was dying of cancer. And the night he died, his wife came, now his widow, came and said, I think he liked Joe Fleur. That's it. Well, did he want to be cremated? Or I don't know. And I thought to myself, hey, we're all going to go. A wife, a husband, a child is going to have to answer those questions one day. And you know, if you think about it ahead of time and let someone know, it makes it a lot easier on someone.
But the way you're burying people, let's say on
Oh.
you may be full by the time I...
No, calm down. 26,000 in 14 years. We have room for 160,000 before they expand. And there's lots of farms up there still to expand. And the government has, naturally, it's government, you know, how they take things over, they have rights at some of those farms around there to continue expanding. But 160,000 is a lot of years down the road.
Just a follow-up then. So I've already pre-registered through the VA. Is there any difference to pre-registering with Betty? I got a certificate from the VA for myself and my spouse saying we're qualified, you know, to be buried there. If you choose.
Then you want to put it someplace safe where that person who's going to plan your funeral can take it to the funeral home, because ultimately the funeral home is the place that will schedule your burial with the cemetery. Couple things. I encourage everybody in this room to take a ride up to Washington Crossing. Go visit those 2 memorials. They're absolutely beautiful. Make that decision whether you want to be buried in the ground, if you're cremated, with a headstone, if you want to be buried in a columbarium. Of course, if you're in a casket, you're going in the ground. When you first go in, the headstones are going to look like they're close together, because I had one person say, what do they bury you standing up? I go, well, no, that's the cremated remains when you first go in. There is a casketed section that looks normal. Yeah. So you get buried the right way. But I encourage everybody to take a ride up there and visit that place. It's absolutely such a place of honor, and you feel that when you go in the gates of that cemetery. And I was there that cold November day when it was dedicated. So there was a rabbi there and a priest, so it's sacred ground. And I have people call and tell me how meaningful the guardians made their father's funeral or mother's funeral. So I encourage everybody.
I'll just add to that, as Betty was encouraging you. On the last Thursday of almost every month, except for Thanksgiving, or November and December because of Thanksgiving and Christmas, but on the last Thursday of every month, there is a ceremony. We call it the unattended, and it's not unattended at all. It is for those veterans which were buried that month, which were interred that month, who had no next of kin. No family, no friends, and yet we give them a very meaningful send-off. A lot of people will come from American Legions, Marine Corps Leagues, or just folks who want to come by. So it is often very well attended, especially when the weather's nice. The motorcycles like to come and get a day out, which is fine. And it is meaningful because the chaplain will deliver some meaningful remarks, and they get full military honors as well as they're going in the ground. So, and that's a good way to observe what the firing party does, what the military honors are, because you shouldn't just go to someone else's private ceremony. And now I think that's the end of my list, but go ahead.
Are the Guardians the only one that do military honors at the cemetery?
The Guardians of the National Cemetery is the official support group for that cemetery. I'll say on rare occasions, like for instance, if a Philadelphia policeman is killed or dies, in time, often they'll send up a team from the Philadelphia police. There are.
The reason I asked for a funeral in a private cemetery, usually the funeral home can arrange members of the service that the veteran was a part of come and do the military honors. Can that happen at the National Cemetery?
I would say it certainly could. I've been doing it for 14 years. I don't see it happening. I mean, and I'm part of an American Legion and a Marine Corps League, et cetera. And we don't have teams that go and do that because to have 5 or 7 riflemen fire right, you have to practice. You can't do it once every 2 or 3 years. And, it would sound like a machine gun. Yeah, if you only load one rifle, it might sound okay. So I would say in general, other groups don't come. Every once in a while, like I said, the Philadelphia police will send up a team.
Well, I was on active duty in the area, and I used to do military honor for various veterans, and I'd like the same for myself.
Active
duty units in the area, and reserve units in the area have details that do this sort of thing.
Well, I will tell you, 314, the Marine Corps unit, which is local here, they ask us to come and provide firing parties in the city when they've got to fire riflemen, because they'll say, we don't fire together. We can march around and we look pretty damn good in our dress blues, but they don't fire. I mean, I know I have gone into Philadelphia and fired on their behalf a number of times. But if you know a group and you want to get buried with your 5 spouses, have one of them call ahead of time and get your guys active.
I want my honors presented by a Marine.
John,
Listen, wait. That part is easy. The group that fold and present the flag are always, unless they don't show up, are almost always the branch of the veteran going in the ground. That part is almost always done that way. And by the way, if you talk to the guy right in front of you, he could probably want to sign you up for the Marine Corps League and get you in. But anyway, any other questions?
How do you handle it with myself? I will prefer to be cremated. My wife wants to be buried.
John, can you repeat
Listen,
the question?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat the question for the videographer?
Oh, yes. To answer that question of what if one spouse wants to be cremated, the other one does not, without making a smart comment, I will tell you, they go in together. They put the ashes in the coffin. And I'll tell you the smart comment later on. Yes, sir.
Could you give a plug for Wreaths Across America? This year, there wasn't enough money donated, so Washington Crossing didn't have a wreath for every veteran that was in there.
I can speak to that, but I'll tell you, not officially. Because for the first 8 years, that was handled by the Guardians of the National Cemetery. But the real role of the Guardians of the National Cemetery is to show up 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, and provide military honors for those veterans going in the ground. All those wreaths cost net about $10 a piece. Maybe it's 12 or 15 now, but it was $10 a piece. When you start putting wreaths on 20,000 graves at $10 a piece, it costs a hell of a lot of money for about a month to have those wreaths sit there. And by the way, all the volunteers that show up to put wreaths down often don't show up to pick wreaths up a month later when they're cold and frozen and a bunch of old veterans are out there picking them up. And it costs a lot of money. That's the key. And we decided as the Guardians that we can't do that. Our mission is 52 weeks a year, not 20, not 1 month. And we can't raise that kind of money. We have no way to raise the money. And so we took the decision that says, we're not in the Wreaths Across America business. Some of our people may show up, may help put wreaths down. I know we help pick them up, but we're not trying to finance it. And unfortunately, there's often controversy that goes with that too. We had a service that said, if you send us $25, we'll make sure we put one down on your spouse or your loved one. But then here come the Boy Scouts and the Air Guard and the Girl Scouts and everybody else, and they work at making sure every veteran has a wreath. So now they pick it up from the widow or the buried spouse and move it over to a veteran, and then old veteran calls and says, hey, wait a minute, I sent you $25. Why isn't there a wreath on my wife's grave? And it just became a nightmare that we could not handle. So I don't know who's in charge of it now, but it is not the Guardians of the National Cemetery. Any other questions out there? All right, Kristen, I think I'm done. I have a small handful of these.
I'm going to turn it back over to Matt and Betty. If anybody has any questions, just raise your hand. They'll call on you, and then if you could just repeat the question, and then they'll get it answered for you. You guys can sit down.
Before we get into questions, I just want to go over a couple last-minute things. The Veteran ID card program is what we have in the county that a lot of businesses, approximately 1,000 businesses, with the display of the Veterans Discount Card, gives discounts to veterans who have that card on them. As of right now, our machine broke a few years ago, and it's not an actual physical ID card. It's a card that we laminate, and it has Bucks County Veterans Discount Card on it. I am in the process of trying to bring the actual photo back, but just be patient until that happens. And we'll post it on our social media and our website when it's up and running with the actual ID card. The Veterans Response Team that I mentioned earlier, it's getting kicked off June 6th and 7th is the first training that police officers who are veterans are going to go through this 2-day course to give them added resources and information to help respond to veterans who are in crisis. We're all made of steel. All veterans and service members are made of steel, and they don't want to deal with their ailments or their mental health or whatever it may be, or fall off the straight and narrow path and get into some things that might skew their life. This program and this initiative will help bring them back to the right side and get them on the right path to be successful again. The organizations that are part of this program is Shamrock Reigns. Has anyone heard of Shamrock Reigns? It's a great organization that does equine therapy, and you work with horses, and the horse works with you and can read your body language and helps your mental health. The Bristol Vet Center will be presenting. Veterans Family Alliance, which is an individual started a nonprofit organization that deals with parents who have a son or daughter that gets deployed and comes home and has PTSD, mental health issues, and there's not many services that have this ability to deal with the parents of the veteran dealing with issues. So this individual, Bill Navarre, started this Veterans Alliance to give resources to the parents of the veteran. Salute to Service, which is in Newtown. They provide a wide range of services, and every Wednesday they provide about $60 to $70 to homeless veterans full of meals, groceries. And they also give clothing to veterans in need. We just went to the Code Blue in Bristol and gave out coats and gloves to the homeless community. There's about 15 homeless veterans in Bucks County right now on a given night. Victor 6 Health and Wellness, the Del Val Veterans Home, our office, the Bucks County Vet Court, which is going to be certified hopefully later this year, which is a diversion court for veterans who are involved in the criminal justice system. Bucks County Career Link, the vet rep for the Bucks County Career Link, trying to get veterans employed. Major Dennis Basmajian, who is a Philadelphia VA police officer, which is one of the main components of this veterans response team. What this does is every police department in Bucks County, from where their headquarters is to the Philadelphia VA, the furthest one is an hour and 2 minutes away. I did all the research on that because I wanted to make sure that I had all my ducks in a row when I'm presenting to the police chiefs. When you contact Dennis or the watch commander's desk at the Philadelphia VA for the police department, you essentially bypass the emergency room wait room and go right to the mental health facility. And it can reduce, and the person will actually not be 302, they'll be 201, which is they're voluntarily committing themselves to help themselves out. And I know Bucks County is a big gun community. It gives you the opportunity to still keep your weapons. There's a social service worker who deals with the mental health ward wing at the Philadelphia VA. His name is Kevin Carr Lemke. He verifies their status to be able to be qualified for care at the Philadelphia VA. And then the Veterans Multi-Service Center, which helps deal with the homeless veterans in Bucks County. And they have the ability to, if they qualify, to be paid for 60 days worth of a hotel stay for homeless veterans. So those are the different organizations that help veterans out. They all provide different resources and things to help veterans that are in need. And obviously our office with dealing with all the different things that Betty talked about. I don't have the sense of humor that John has, so it's kind of dry for me. But and then coming up in 2 weeks, I see lower, is it Pendel or what's the term for the organization?
Lower Bucks Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund.
So we do bridge dedications in partnership with him and his organization, and on March 27th at 11 a.m. in Quakertown, we're doing a bridge dedication for a Vietnam veteran missing in action. There's 136 Vietnam veterans from Bucks County that were killed in action, and 2 that are missing, 1 here from Northampton Township. And so on March 27th at 11 a.m., we're doing a bridge dedication. On April 6th, the Lower Southampton Veterans Expo is holding an expo that gives other resources and different organizations, not just what the VA, federal government, and state government offer, but other organizations in the community have to offer to veterans. Norm Phillips is here with Scope, SCORE, that does helps with veterans returning to try to open up their own business. So if you want to speak with him afterwards, you could do that. Bucks County, our office, the Veterans Affairs Office, is bringing back the golf outing for any of you golfers out there. Who's a scratch golfer here? No one? Okay. And then our Bucks County Veterans Expo that we hold every year will be held October 18th at Parks Casino again. So looking forward to that event as well. And I'll now open up the floor to any questions. Yes, sir.
Used to publish the vendors that participated in the Veterans Discount Program.
Yes, sir.
Or they maybe was that an expense item that had to be eliminated to know what veterans discounts were available by various.
So he asked if it was an added expense to post or send out the vendors who participate in the Veterans Discount Program. I can talk to the county to see if we could post it on our website so that you can track it. Yeah, so it was initially created, and I'll let Betty answer this one.
Pre-Matt. So Parks Casino used to print that, and it was like $17,000 plus postage. And we don't have that in our budget. They're not offering to do that anymore. So it is on our website, www.buckscounty.gov. And you can find the vendors. We have a girl in our office, and she updates periodically. We don't get a lot of new people, but I imagine there may be some that aren't participating anymore that we're not aware of.
Another question, another subject. On the hypertension claims, I was under doctor's medical attention for hypertension. So I take medication, which controls my hypertension. So I fill out the forms, and I go down to Philadelphia to the doctor or the nurse. They take my blood pressure. Well, it's good because of the medication I'm taking. Now, so if the claim came back 0.
Like everyone else. So,
Yep.
yep.
Wait a minute, let me finish. So do we stop taking our medication, get high blood pressure, go down and get whatever compensation may be available? Because they certainly didn't pay any attention to the letter my doctor wrote that said that I have hypertension.
So the veteran's asking about the hypertension claim for a Vietnam veteran. What the VA is basing their percentage on if it's controlled or uncontrolled. So your medical documentation from your doctor shows that it's controlled blood pressure.
Right.
If it was uncontrolled, you had to be hospitalized several times due to uncontrolled blood pressure. That would get you a higher rating, but we see 0% coming back for hypertension. With that being said, I would never tell anybody not to file a claim for hypertension because hypertension can lead to other problems, like a stroke. And then a stroke would be secondary to the hypertension.
Yeah, if anybody's running around with high blood pressure, but if they have some doctors giving them some medication to do it, and they know they're on that they have hypertension. So when you go down to the Philadelphia, you're in good control.
That's correct. You either have controlled hypertension or uncontrolled hypertension. So you would have to show.
I understand, but if you're controlled, you still have it because of the situation that caused you to have the hypertension.
And that's why they service connect you for it, because you have hypertension.
That's right, but that's under control, so you get no benefits.
That's correct.
But you do get medication.
You can get medication for free through the VA.
Concerned about the medication.
But yes, most of the hypertensions, if it's controlled,
Don't waste your time filling up.
I wouldn't do that. I would definitely file a claim because I have people that have had strokes due to hypertension, and they're now service connected for that stroke secondary to the hypertension. So you may be 0%, but you're still service connected for it. Yes, sir.
So, I'm a hypertension guy, like this, somewhat controlled. But isn't it true that if you had the hypertension or exposed to Agent Orange, and you have a stroke and you die, then isn't your wife entitled to?
I would definitely file a claim if a veteran dies of a stroke and they had hypertension. I would be filing a DIC claim. Even if he was a Vietnam veteran and hadn't filed hypertension yet, and that's on his death certificate, I would still file a claim for DIC.
Well, you still have a stroke and be on medication, okay, so that defeats the purpose of your loan, what you just told him doesn't make any sense. If you die of hypertension, but you're under control, where's the claim?
It's still a service connection.
It's still a service connection.
But the hypertension was controlled through medication, but you still have a stroke.
So it's
So you're
essentially,
ground
so essentially, it's controlled through the medication. If you were taking medication and it was still high blood pressure, that's where the issue rises.
But
Then,
you don't have high blood pressure because you're on medication.
Well, that may be you, but that's not everybody. Generally, if it's controlled, and some people have controlled hypertension that might be higher than someone else.
I'm not a doctor, so I can't answer.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that's all I can tell you is when the claims are coming through, if it's controlled high blood pressure, it's coming back as a 0.
But it's still on record as a,
Absolutely.
so once it's on record, the stroke becomes associated with it.
That's correct. Yes.
If it was uncontrolled,
No.
no.
Either way. Yes, ma'am. That's correct. That's correct. That's when a stroke happens, when you suddenly have an uncontrolled hypertension. Yes, sir.
Who handles the 5-year real estate exemption for 5 years?
So,
You or the DMV?
well, he's asking about the 5-year rule for income, the real estate tax exemption. Before your 5 years is up, you will get a letter from the state, and they will give you 90 days to reapply, and then you'll call our office. So you'll be getting a letter, definitely. If not, take my card and call me tomorrow, okay? Because I can look on the state list to see what your date is. Okay. Anybody else? Oh. Do you have real estate tax exemption? That's only for 100% service-connected disabled veterans. They can get real estate tax exemption. But it's good for 5 years. Yes, sir.
If you're someone collecting at the full rate, but they only have you rated at 80%, why?
If you're 80% but getting paid at 100% because you're unemployable. So they'll pay you at 100%, but you're still rated at 80. But you can still apply for tax exemption if you're 80% getting paid at 100%, if you're a wartime veteran.
but you have to be under, to include your compensation and whatever other income that you make, under $108,000 and 46 bucks.
Yes.
My husband was 100% disabled. He passed away. I am familiar with CHAMP, and I'm familiar with the possibility of tax exemption based on income. And also, what was the other one? DIC. Are there any other benefits that spouses are eligible for?
No, a widow would get the maximum if she was getting DIC, tax exemption, and CHAMPVA. That would be the benefit that you would be able to apply for.
But you mentioned something too about assisted living, something about...
So if you're getting DIC, you can't file for a widow's pension. You get either or. There's not a benefit.
When you mentioned assisted living at $1,600, what was that for?
That would be a widow's pension. It's the same amount. The maximum for a widow's pension is the same amount that a widow gets for DIC. Right. Yep. Yes.
Eddie, could a widow or a widower who's married to a 100% disabled veteran who passed sign up for the real estate exemption?
Yes, we have widows that qualify for tax exemption only after their husband passes away because he's had too much income. So he wasn't eligible. So she loses part of his income. She can apply for tax exemption. Couple things. She can't remarry, and she can't change the deed and add anybody onto the deed.
And what was the second one you said?
She can't change the deed.
Oh, right.
Yes, sir. Yes. Shack up, people. Because if she gets, I have a young girl, her husband died. She called me, she said, if we get married, what do I lose? I go, well, you'll lose tax exemption. She said, it's not worth it. We'll shack up. I'm married 43 years. I'm telling you people to shack up. You'll lose too many benefits. Yes, sir. Yeah.
It does.
If I applied for the cemetery 14 years ago, how do I find out if I'm still there?
Did you?
Never get here.
Then I would send in another form.
Okay.
That would be, and then they may send you and say you're already, here's your eligibility letter.
Good deal.
But you don't have to do a pre-need. If you pass away, like John was saying, the cemetery has about a 100-year life. They have only started, there's 111 acres out there of cemetery use. And I think, I don't know, if they may have used 40 acres so far. So if you die within the next 100 years, there'll be room for you. Another thing is that the cemetery was built on an irrigation system. So it's always going to be plush and green and beautiful. And another thing that a lot of people don't know, if you're going to be buried in a casket, the vaults are already in the ground. A vault is probably about $2,000 that you're going to save on a funeral cost. So. I think, John, have they done 40 acres? They just do them as needed.
They do about a year ahead of time.
Yeah.
Not 40.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. When you mentioned about the spouse is eligible to go into the Washington Monument, what if the spouse who is not a veteran dies first? I mean,
She can be buried at the cemetery.
even though the veteran is still alive?
That's correct.
What kind of marking is on that?
So there's an old antiquated rule that the VA has that if you're buried with a headstone, the spouse is on the other side. Of course, if you're in the columbarium, you get a little niche, all your information is together. But if you have a headstone, the spouse will be on the other side. I encourage everybody to go out there and look. See what suits you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to shift gears here for a minute. As Matt mentioned, my name is Dick Kroger. I'm here with one of my associates, Norm Phillips. We represent SCORE, which is a nationwide volunteer organization that provides free business mentoring to people who want to start a business, buy a business, or it can be an existing business that might have some particular challenge. So I would say, if anyone here in the group operates a business and is having an issue that we might be able to help with, or you know someone that might be looking for assistance, it's free, it's objective, and it's confidential business mentoring service that we offer. Thank you.
Good. Turning it back to Matt.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I appreciate it. I'm only been in this position for just shy of a year, so Betty's the engine that makes this whole organization operate. I'm just the casing around the engine. She's an asset to each and every one. Yes, sir.
Just one last question. The VA website, can you go over that at all? Anything on signing up with the codes, and you can check the status on the VA website?
Yeah, so on your smartphone, if you have if you go to if you're an iPhone guy, your app store, whatever, Droid, download the VA app and register, and then you could track payments, appointments, payment history, all your letters that are associated with your VA claim. And there's important phone numbers on your same login account. So if you don't have that, I recommend getting it. So if you have any questions prior to calling the VA or the helpline number, you could just go on the actual app itself and review your personal information on the actual app. Yes, sir.
I wonder if any of you mind going over CHAMPVA a little bit, what that means for the veteran and the spouse.
Yes, sir. You want to go over CHAMP?
I can do a little bit about CHAMPVA. That is a benefit that the veteran has to be 100% permanent and totally disabled. It's a health care. I always say the wife or the widow has better benefits than the veteran, because the VA says, well, we'll take care of the veteran, but the widow or the wife can go to her own doctor. And once she's on Medicare A and B, CHAMPVA becomes her supplement, so she will not have to pay a supplement. And they cover just about everything. Other than long-term care, which the VA doesn't have long-term care. And they have dental, they have drugs. Yep. They go to that, and they can go to their own doctors. So whatever, especially when she's on Medicare A and B, it's the supplement. So whatever doctor they're going to that takes their Medicare card will take the CHAMPVA. Yes, sir.
Now, my wife's on CHAMPVA.
I was issued it in 22. I have not started it yet.
She likes her doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And
She doesn't take it.
she doesn't take it.
So my question to you is, would I be able to go see my doctor that I've had for the last 20 years if she writes any for a mammogram, anything like that? Would I be able to then go to get that done
And use your CHAMPVA, yes. I believe even if you get a bill from your doctor that's kind of, you can send that into CHAMPVA.
So when I pay her out of pocket to go visit her, I can send that into
Yep, you can put a claim into CHAMPVA.
Because we also, like I pay over $69.50 a month for Selma, which is like that covers like the co-pays and all that other stuff.
But the only time that CHAMPVA becomes a secondary is when the widow or the wife's on Medicare A and B. Right, so she's going to have to pay the price of having a supplement. Right.
Well, I was just worried that her having her own doctor and then CHAMPVA not.
I think you can put a claim into CHAMPVA for those costs.
How many goes up in there?
Take my card here. I'll do a little bit of investigating. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for someone with severe PTSD?
What do I do with someone that has severe PTSD? The first thing I would do would be to file a claim if they're okay. Make sure they're getting help. Surround them with people that will help them along the journey. That's what I would do.
I can go further into this one. So I actually, this morning, got a call from someone, a veteran in crisis, and police department shows up, and there was no veteran police officer, or police officers that are veterans that showed up. There was about 5 or 6 police officers that showed up, and the veteran kicked the police officers out. I drove an hour away from where I was to meet with this veteran who was in crisis. I told him my story, what I went through when I came back from my mobilization, and talked with him. And he actually allowed me to talk with him, and I spent about 2.5 hours with him and his family. And he just fell on hard times, lost his job, turned to alcohol. And I can say this because I'm not saying any names or anything about his case, but he fell on hard times. So I went out there, talked to him, told him, like I said, told him my story, and got him back on to for the time being, the straight and narrow. The family was really concerned for his well-being. They even took his weapons out of the house because they were afraid that he was going to kill himself. And I went up there. My wife was a little concerned because she's like, "You didn't bring the cops with you?" And I was like, "I'm out of that life anymore." So I made sure that this veteran was okay. And I'm going to still work with him. This program, this Veterans Response Team, is there for veterans who are in crisis. And I'll be the one doing the follow-ups as the veteran gets contact with the police on, let's just say, a Saturday. If I get notified, which I will every time a veteran comes in contact with the police department here in Bucks County, I will be doing the follow-up to make sure that, one, they're still getting the help that they need, and two, they're taken care of. Because, yeah, we all like to talk trash about each other's branch when we're serving, but now we're a family after the fact. We're all veterans. We all care about each other's well-being, and that's what my goal is, to make sure that it reduces the suicide rate here in Bucks County, and that we take care of the veterans that are in need, if that answers your question. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
For Betty, you're the primary service officer for all Bucks County?
We have, well, Matt's an accredited service officer, but I deal with Central. We have Christine up in Quakertown, and we have Stephanie in Levittown.
For this area also?
Yep.
Stephanie?
She's in Levittown, and Christine is in Quakertown. So we handle the gamut of the county.
What's the difference between the AMVET representative and service?
So the difference is we are accredited. They're not accredited. Even the congressional office is not accredited. They can't file claims. We go through a lot of training. We go through a lot of security. I had to do a level 2 to get the PIV card, fingerprints, background checks, so that it allows me to go in. Once you sign and I represent you, I can go into your claims file. There's only 3 of us in the county that can do that.
So you use the service officer first.
Christine, myself, and Matt are accredited service officers. If you encounter somebody, I've already seen it in Quakertown. My VSO gave me this from the American Legion, and it's this nicotine-stained form from 1986. So if you got a question, you want to come to an accredited service officer. Also, an FYI, don't pay anyone to file a federal benefit for you. Don't pay any companies. Come to us. If you've paid your taxes, you've already paid our salaries. And I'll leave you with 2 more things because they're funny. People think we can do everything in our department, and believe me, we can't. I had a lady call and say, "I need my piano moved." I said, "Well, ma'am, we don't move pianos." She goes, "Well, my husband's a Marine." I said, "Well, we don't move pianos. What am I going to do? You can't help us move a piano?" I said, "Ma'am, we do a lot of things here, but we don't move pianos. Nor can we change the stop sign at the end of your street because you don't like it, even if you're a veteran. That's a PennDOT problem." So we can do a lot of things in our department, and we're very busy. I don't think Matt, when he started, realized how busy we were. But my phone starts ringing. It rings. If I don't close that laptop, my phone will ring at 10 o'clock at night. So We encourage you to call us. That's why we come out to things like this, to get the word out. Because the VA has never knocked on your door and said, hey, here's all these benefits for you. It's you guys coming out to things like this because you're not going to sit with a veteran in a doctor's office and know that he's coming down with something and not say, you know what, that could be service connected. You should call Betty. I'm in pulpits, prisons, you name it. My business card's everywhere. And that's fine, because we're busy and I like it that way. I would never want to worry about how I'm going to spend 8 hours. Matt will say, it's lunchtime already, because it goes by so fast. So we encourage you to call us, and we'll try to help you as much as we can. And thank you for coming out.
Thank you.